Hello and welcome to Lovely English Stories. Thank you for stopping by. This story is written for intermediate English learners. Ready? Let's get started. B1, B2 English Story. The Waiting Game. Is there anything worse than waiting for the telephone to ring? Lydia couldn't think of anything at that moment. The waiting game was not for her. She felt like her life was in limbo. All she wanted was answers, and she felt like everything was out of her control. As a self-confessed control freak, this did not suit her. She felt out of balance and on edge. She wanted to know where she stood and what the next steps would be. She needed to be in control and able to make plans. Lydia had recently undergone a period of immense change. Her once simple life had become flooded with new adventures, which, while it was great fun, was also nerve-wracking. Lydia had recently moved to a new city, got a new job, started several new hobbies, met the man of her dreams, and now was in the process of purchasing her first property. She never expected any of these things to happen. She only moved to the city to take a 6-month temporary job. She wanted to explore somewhere new and thought this would be the perfect opportunity. She did not expect to fall in love with the city and lifestyle and meet such amazing people along the way, many of whom have now become her kindred spirits. She had been given the offer to stay in her role permanently, so she decided to put down roots in her new city. Even though it was over 150 miles from her family, it felt like home. She had always been a wanderer, never one to settle down or plod along, but suddenly she felt the urge to create her own home, to nest, and to form a life for herself. She had checked her phone countless times since 9 a.m. The estate agent said they would call within the hour. The waiting was driving her crazy. How difficult could it be to get a simple answer from someone? Lydia was waiting to hear back from the vendor, the person who owned the house she wanted to buy. She had made a low-ball offer. She hoped they might take her up on it, since she's a first-time buyer and in an advantageous position to move. The housing market was proving to be a little stagnant, so surely the vendor would welcome the opportunity to sell up and move on. Lydia had already made a floor plan of how she wanted to decorate the house. It was a small 2-up, 2-down cottage on the edge of the city where she worked. She would be able to cycle to work. There was a gym around the corner, and the area was full of young, vibrant people like herself. She wanted to make this little house her home. She wanted to plant fragrant flowers in the garden, build her own garden furniture, have a small vegetable garden, and live a more sustainable life. At the moment, she was living in a rented flat with two other people, and although this had served her well, it was not what she strived for in the long run. She was adamant that she wanted her own little haven, somewhere she could return to after a long day's work to relax and wind down. Waiting for her phone to ring was proving more difficult, as the answer she would receive could change her life, or at least for her foreseeable future, significantly. She tried to think of other options if her offer wasn't accepted. What could she do? She debated going travelling. She thought about staying in her rented flat. She had looked at the property market, but she didn't like anything as much as this little cottage. She felt like it was meant to be. Suddenly, her phone started vibrating. She almost dropped it as she picked it up and answered. It was the estate agent. Lydia held her breath as they waffled on about contracts and mortgages until they finally said the three words she'd been hoping to hear. Yes, they accept. This was it. Lydia couldn't believe it. She felt like she needed to either run around the streets screaming or have a stiff drink. Finally, the waiting game was over, and she was ready to start her new chapter in the city she loved. Now, let's go through some vocabulary from the story. There's quite a few advanced words and phrases in this story, so let's go through some of those first. Fragrant. Fragrant. If something is fragrant, it has a sweet or pleasant smell. Nest. To nest. To nest is to build a home, like a bird builds a nest. Urge. Urge. An urge is a strong wish, especially one that is difficult or perhaps impossible to control. Countless. Countless. Countless means very many or too many to be counted. Immense. Immense. If something is immense, it is extremely large in size or degree. Sustainable. Sustainable. If something is sustainable, it is made in a way that causes little or no damage to the environment and therefore is able to continue for a long time. To waffle. To waffle. To waffle is to talk or write a lot without giving any useful information or any clear answers. Now let's go through some intermediate vocabulary from the story. Estate agent. Estate agent. An estate agent is a person whose job is to arrange the sale, renting, or management of homes, land, and buildings for the owners. Self-confessed. Self-confessed. Self-confessed means admitting to having a characteristic that is considered or seen to be bad or not acceptable. Debate. To debate is to try to make a decision about something. Expected. Expected. If something is expected, it is believed to be going to happen or arrive. For example, the train is expected to arrive at 12:02 p.m. Permanently. Permanently means always and forever. Now, this idiom, To put down roots. To put down roots means if you live in a place that you have recently moved to, then you want to put down roots to make new friends and join new activities so that it feels like your home. We recently did a shorts video about putting down roots. Settle. To settle. To settle is to go and live somewhere, especially permanently. Significantly. Significantly means by a large amount. If someone says they need a stiff drink, it means they need a strong alcoholic drink. Accept. To accept. To accept is to agree or to say yes to something. Contract. Contract. A contract is a legal document that states and explains a formal agreement between two different people or groups, or the agreement itself. We hope you enjoyed this lovely English story and the vocabulary explanations. Thank you for stopping by, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. See you soon!